the Desert Tiger Podcast.
Hello, Colton.
Hello, Christian. How's it going?
It's good, man. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Having a great day so far.
Good to hear.
Always good to feel. Good to feel too. Always good to connect as well. Be able to, dive into somebody's musical journey, find out a little bit more about somebody new. I'm excited to do that today.
I'm excited to chat. Yeah. Yeah, you're out in BC?
Kamloops.
Kamloops? Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
I've only been to Alberta. That's as far west as I've gone.
Okay. Still, I mean, you've made it almost all the way, so.
Almost. No pun intended about the song, right?
Exactly. Fantastic. But I mean, I know I've only been to Ontario and out east a few times myself too, so I know how that crossing the middle of Canada can be.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a huge country and flights aren't cheap, so it's like to get there is kind of a journey. But one day.
One day for sure. Absolutely. All right. So we're here today to talk about your EP, that debut EP, Handshake. Are you ready to jump on into it?
Let's do it.
Fantastic. So, of course, to get to this point, there's a little bit of a journey. And I find in my research that you went to university, and it was after university that you finally decided that you wanted to actually take this step to record and release pieces of yourself. So what was that moment or that thing that finally clicked that made you want to do this?
That feeling was always there, but I finished university and then I worked at a sort of like telecom service company, like corporate setting for about 6 months. And then turned out I was good at it. I liked it. My coworkers were great. And then my contract was up. And then my boss at the time took me out for coffee and he was like ready to talk about renewing the contract. And I was like, I'm actually gonna go. I'm so sorry, but here's the deal. And I sort of was genuine and honest and was like, it's kind of like now or never was my thinking at the time in terms of pursuing music. So they took it very graciously and they were supportive. But that was kind of like the moment. Not when I decided to, but when I sort of took action on that decision for sure.
Okay then. So at what point did you start writing the end? Because were some of these songs written beforehand then, and this was just something that you decided, now I want to take this step now that I have this material in the back burner? Or was it just like, were some of these songs that you wrote after this moment?
Most of them, at least part before that moment. I kind of had some instrumental stuff ready from way back in like grade 12 or grade 11, some guitar stuff like Unused Information. That whole sort of riff, the skeleton of the song was ready back then. But I sort of tied it all together after that moment. And then Try Out for Heaven was brand new. It just kind of came together really quickly, and I was really grateful for that one. And I was writing sort of constantly throughout university and throughout that time, but those songs were just like nagging at me to get them finished. And I felt like they were worth finishing. So I'm glad I got to, finally have the time to get them done.
Okay, so this EP's been in process for well over about 6 years by the sounds of it then.
Yeah, it's been at least existed in my mind for a long time, so I'm really happy to have it out.
Okay, awesome. So there's definitely a lot of different energies explored, a lot of genres and sounds with this EP. So what sort of energy were you trying to capture with this?
Yeah, it's kind of, you're right. There's a lot going on. It's not kind of like one feeling or genre throughout the whole thing. I didn't really set out to like capture a specific genre or genres. It just kind of like, my approach was whatever came out. And they all sort of were cohesive and tied together, but they're all their own distinct songs. So I kind of tried to channel some major influences. Like there's John Mayer on there. If you listen closely, I listen to D'Angelo like once a week, and I kind of went for a D'Angelo thing on Shadows. It's by no means D'Angelo caliber, but he's definitely the sort of influence behind that one. And I just kind of wanted to express myself in terms of what I listen to, what I like to play, because both of those things are very diverse. So I tried to sort of showcase what I like and what I like to make.
Okay, so it's very much is exactly that, a handshake, an introduction to yourself then.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a combination of what I like. It's not everything by any means, but it's kind of a start. It's a little bit of an introduction.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's only so much that you can fit within 5 songs for sure.
Yeah, gotta leave room for more.
All right. Well, let's jump into some of those songs here then. I want to jump into the first single that you released because, of course, as artists, what we create is sort of like our baby, like something we craft and then it's our own for so long and then we put it out into the world and we see what happens to it. So let's talk a little bit about Cape Town and what it means to you, and then what it was like to finally release that first single.
Yeah. Cape Town is kind of a breakup song, but it's also a song about mental health. And coincidentally enough, we're recording this on Bell Let's Talk Day, so that's always a plus. But it's kind of a metaphor for almost like a mental safe house, where I think everybody has that place where you go that's kind of like only yours, where, you know, in a way you shut out the world, but you're also trying to keep the door open and saying like, I'm okay. I just need to chill out here for a little bit. And that's kind of the idea behind Cape Town. And I think I chose that location because it's so like geographically like remote. It's just so at the bottom of the world, the tip of South Africa. So I don't know how I came to that one, but it just kind of naturally, served as the metaphor for what I was trying to express. And then the story of it, though, to anchor that all down is a breakup. So that was really interesting. And there's all kinds of meanings that I hope the listeners take out of it for themselves. And then to release it was really weird. It was the first single I released for Handshake. So in a way, it was kind of like the most treacherous because it was the most vulnerable. So at the time, I was kind of nervous because I was having my heart on my sleeve. And I wasn't used to releasing music. And then, but looking back, I'm kind of glad that was the first one, because then everything after that was like, oh, okay, I know that it's okay to put yourself out there, and it's part of songwriting that you let people in a little bit. So that was a good one to put out first, I think.
Okay, awesome. Definitely a good song to vibe to as well, and I definitely understand that need to sort of take some time, because sometimes everybody needs that. It's always that like, oh, you should reach out and everything else. Sometimes it's hard to reach out, and sometimes it's not that you need to reach out. Sometimes you need to take a moment to sort of just focus on what's going on, figure out a game plan and how you want to go about it, and just realize that maybe this thing or whatever it is that you're facing isn't as daunting as it seems.
That's exactly it. And it's not meant to be a metaphor of this like dark place. It's just that kind of like safe house where, you're not hiding away, going dark, shutting out the world completely. It's kind of like, just like you said, it's like, I just need the moment. I'm letting you know I'm here, but this is kind of where I'm at for the next hour or day or whatever it is.
I've lost my color. I am just a shade. I thought I'd trust her, but everything I gave, she gave away. Never share your deepest secret with those who cannot keep it. You're better off if no one knows. was destined to be broken, but her hammer just shattered me more, even more. The hide and seek that I used to play guaranteed a friend would always try to find me. These days I'm just too damn good. You can try to find me down in Cape Town. I'm here on business. This is my 9 to 5. I'd love a witness, someone capable of never taking sides. Oh, I have to instigate it, and I know you're gonna hate it, but I've never felt so strong before. Now I'll never need you, but my walls are not as see-through, and I still need a place to hide. The hide and seek that I used to play guaranteed a friend would always try to find me. These days I'm just too damn good. You can try to find me down in Cape Town. You can try to find me down in Cape Town. Find me hiding down in Cape Town. Find me hiding down in Cape Town. Find me hiding down in Cape Town. Find me, oh, won't you save me from Cape Town?
Okay, so then I also want to dive into the latest single that was released off of Handshake, that of course being Try Out for Heaven. This is the one song that isn't written or based on personal experiences. So where is this born out of?
It's one of those songs that was really, it just kind of writes itself every now and then. Songwriters just get something that you have no idea where it came from. And it was one of those, and I was really grateful for it because I like the melody, I like the music behind it. And I try not to think about it too much in terms of like what it was about while I was writing it. I just kind of like let it happen. And then when I listened back, it was cool to hear me singing about a complete fictional story, fictional character. And I kind of like writers that do that too. And I kind of want to explore that more in the future as well.
Definitely exploring different kinds of storytelling through your music.
Absolutely.
Definitely. You mentioned influences like John Mayer, and John Mayer is definitely someone who can tell one hell of a story.
He's pretty good at it. Like he's quite good. And he was a great sort of, it's not like he took me under his wing or anything, but I think he gives enough of his creative process and snippets that I think a lot of songwriters draw inspiration from him. But again, like he still writes very personally to him, and Try Out for Heaven is completely not about me, and it reminded me more of like a Bruce Springsteen song where it's like he's just completely making it up, but it's so believable. You could almost put Bruce as the character in those songs, but when you really listen to it, you realize it's not about him. So that's something I really want to explore later on.
And it just continues to open up because listeners of music definitely take on their own interpretations as well. So who knows who might be able to internalize that, who takes that and takes something from it, and exactly where it goes from here.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm happy we get to talk about the song because when I put it out, I realized like all the other ones are about me, and then 1 out of 5 is not about me. But I mean, statistically, you would think it is about me. So I'm glad people get to hear me say like it's not about me. I'm not a horrible guy. I don't cheat in my relationships. It's so it's cool. So thank you for this confessional. I appreciate it.
No worries. Yeah. And hey, complicated happens for 1,000 different reasons, right?
Exactly.
All right. So of course, Handshakes was released in November of 2020, a year where many artists were forced to adapt. And of course, this was your first EP. So how did you go about learning how to do this? Because most people go off of what their last game plan is and, we'll just shift it to an online platform. How did you sort of tread these waters?
It was kind of firing from the hip for at least the beginning of the lockdown. But right like a week before the lockdown, I had put like a band together and I was ready to start rehearsing for like an album release party and more shows. It was like the week before. So I was super excited. They were great musicians. And then lockdown hit and I, made peace with the fact that it's not going to happen live. But I was kind of in the mindset of like, maybe I'll just wait till this all blows over and then release it. But obviously it's been way longer than anyone thought that this would last. And I just felt like, it's like, because we're so online, it's not like people won't hear the music. So felt like I might as well just release this. I could always do another physical show down the road. And I think musicians these days are very fortunate that even though there's the pandemic, we have all these tools that we can still keep it going a little bit.
Absolutely. So now that we talked about adapting the release plan, we spoke about what it was like to release that first single finally. So you had released a few singles up until this point. So what was it finally like to release that collection? Now that you had a few singles under your belt, but now it's this whole part of you.
It felt really good because I love listening to albums. Like singles are great. I just love when you can tell something, took a lot of effort and the person who made it really cares about it. So to sort of contribute to that was really great. And I always heard the songs as a collection. So now that they're out all together and you can listen front to back, I think that's really important, at least to me. And I think it'll make like a better listening experience. So I'm really happy that it's all out together now.
Awesome. Cool. So now that we're into 2021, what are the plans for the rest of Handshakes? Is there any music videos or any like live streaming performances on the way? And what are the rest of the plans for the year?
Yeah, I've done a couple live streams so far, and there will be more. And I'm going to continue to play these songs, but I'm also continuing to write. I'm sort of leaning into more specifics of the genres that you already hear on Handshake in the songs that I'm working on now. So I'm kind of leaning more into the pop, sort of up-tempo stuff for the next round of songs. So I think I'm probably going to stick to singles as much as I love albums. I think, again, I don't stick to one genre, so I have a lot to sort of experiment with, and I think singles are great for that. So I think you'll see a few more releases this year, but they might be their own things, which is kind of exciting.
Definitely. And that's one thing, even with like the singles with like this past EP, Handshakes, there still is definitely cohesion between them too, which is something that you can still definitely fit between this stream of different stories and experiences.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
All right, Christian. So before I ask my last question, where can the Ambush, the listeners of the Desert Tiger podcast, where can they find out more about Christian Tropiano?
They can go to Instagram and Facebook. My handles are Christian Tropiano Music, Twitter as well. And there's a website, christiantropiano.com. And if you want to listen to everything, it's on all sort of streaming platforms that are out there, including YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon. So you can feel free to, look me up. Hope you liked the music and get to know a little bit more about me.
Awesome. All right. So, last question. Through this debut EP, we've spoken about the releasing of the EP, the songs, everything else. But I want to know, how has this process, how has it helped you grow as a person, or what has it helped you learn about yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because so much goes on, or there's so many effects of the music making process that are not about music. So I think I've learned, I think music has this mystical quality to it where like you hear this like classic song and you're like, how did those people write that? Or, what mindset were they in? Or like, where do you even start with something like that? So to put sort of a deadline on, releasing a song or finishing recording was really great for me because it took away some of that mysticism without losing like the magic of, making the song. But it was great because you think like these songs are just like created, but you write it on like a Tuesday night at 7 p.m. So it kind of like anchored everything into reality. And it just taught me that you just have to do it. So it's kind of empowered me to, get stuff done, if that makes sense.
That definitely makes sense. It's sometimes we can be our own harshest critics, and sometimes we can definitely overthink things, and sometimes it's definitely better to do just that. Just get it done, release it out into the world, and continue to grow from there.
Yeah, no, it's super, I guess, empowering when you realize that. So that was really great.
Awesome. Well, Christian, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on the DTP to take us behind this new EP, your debut EP, Handshakes.
Thank you, Colton. It's been great.
What is it gonna cost me now? I wonder. Could it be all the things they say? I really didn't mean for me to steal your thunder, especially since you love the rain. Who knew I would try out for heaven? Who knew I would make it this far? Who knew I would try out for heaven? Who knew I would try out for heaven, yeah. Banish me from your pearly gates, my lover. Carry me to the wishing well. I'm sorry I couldn't be your favorite lover. What is easy enough to understand, 'cause I'm the kind of man who would break a heart, and it's all my fault. This hell I've been living in, living in, living in, living in, sure as hell wasn't worth me giving in, giving in, giving in, giving in. Her love was a privilege, I was an idiot. I should've used my head the night I tore this whole thing apart. Who knew I would try out for heaven? Should've listened to more Bruno Mars. Turns out I'd be locked out of heaven. Who knew I would try out for heaven, yeah. Who knew, who knew, who knew, who knew,
The Desert Tiger Podcast.